Hello, I am Admiral Jedi. Welcome to my Paradox Interactive Historical Playthrough Mega Series, England to America, where I am continuing my second segment, which is the Europa Universalis segment, and we are playing the English precursors of the United States of America, so that means we're playing through England. We've already completed the Crusader Kings segment, moved on to EU4, and so we are going to immediately begin as the nation of England, where we are playing as historically accurately as we possibly can. So that's what a historical playthrough is, if you've never seen any of my videos before. And if you've also never seen any of my videos, I've got to run through my standard 3 disclaimers while starting off a brand new series. If you've seen my videos before and or don't really care about my disclaimers, just skip to the next segment in the YouTube chapter area. So first disclaimer is this is not a tutorial. I do not make videos teaching you how to play any Paradox games. While I've probably put in a few hundred hours, I'm not like a super duper noob. But at the same time, it's probably not worth me trying to learn how to play these games for me, because I'm not really playing through for the purpose of ultimate victory. And the second disclaimer is that I am an American, not something I'm apologizing for necessarily, but rather when I'm playing as countries that I don't live in, there is a chance that pronunciations or certain cultural sensitivities might kind of sail on by me. So I will apologize for that and ask you in the YouTube comments section down below to go ahead and make any corrections that you'd like. I always like to say that kindness is welcome but not required. And then the final and third disclaimer that I make is we are going to be playing and talking about history. And during history, a lot of super horrible things happen, maybe even in Sussex. Just kidding. Anyway, a lot of horrible things happened. Women were mistreated, minorities were mistreated, there was slavery, death, war, and the general maltreatment of other human beings. I'm not in any way glorifying those things, but at the same time, where they truly happened, I will not shy away from making those same decisions, because I believe only in knowing the bad things that came in our history can we learn from them and grow. So that is what we're going to be doing, a historical playthrough starting as the nation of England, and in this series switching to the United States of America for, haven't quite figured it out yet whether it's going to be before, during, or after the American Revolution. I think it's going to be right before, where we will probably switch to America in order to fight the revolution. So we're going to start as England, make the American colonies, and switch over after that. Let's get started. You may have seen on the cover of the video that I'm calling this segment the War of the Roses, and that's what we're primarily going to be doing. I shouldn't say this segment, but rather this particular video. So video 1 is going to be the War of the Roses. We're gonna do some other things in this time as well, but that's going to be our primary focus. And so also, as I get started, I like to, at the very beginning of any new segment, share what my research materials are, and so I will just say in it, I'm really just using kind of the same research materials, and that is, in addition to just some regular Googling and Wikipediaing and all that sort of thing, I am reading through Sir Winston Churchill's The Birth of Britain, which is part 1 in his 4-part series on the history of the English-speaking peoples. We're going to move to his second book, I don't think in this video, probably in the next video. So I will highlight that book in that one. And also I have some additional American Revolution and American history books that I will highlight and display for you a little bit closer to the time. So let's get set up. We're going to go through all of our top notifications here and also talk about, well, what we're going to do for this video. Okay, we're just going to go right across the top here to go through our segments, and this is a perfect place to start. So at this point, King Henry VI, who was a Lancaster, was on the throne, and what it's important to understand, because this is really significant to the War of the Roses, is that Henry VI was really considered like an invalid, a simpleton. I don't know what medical term we might put on it, but basically he was just kind of along for the ride for the most part. He had some moments of lucidity where he knew what was going on, but for the most part, he just, ate his ice cream or whatever it was and went along with it. And he wasn't really able to make decisions on his own. So that's reflected accurately here by his zeroed out skills. Okay, so we're going to, not really do anything about that, of course, but it's worth pointing that out because that's going to play a lot of, it's going to really come into play in some of the upcoming moves that are made here. On the diplomacy standpoint, we will go ahead and name a few obvious and historically accurate rivals. France, of course. Scotland, of course. What I'm really bummed out about is that Burgundy considers us to be enemies. This is not historically accurate, in my opinion. So, what went on with these powers who were, so intertwined with each other is each one tried to support the weakest one. And Burgundy was, typically considered as the weaker, and so England tried to support Burgundy against France because they didn't want to basically give Burgundy the kind of support where then Burgundy could turn that around on them, right? England didn't want to help make Burgundy able to kill it, whereas they wanted to use Burgundy to, overpower France. And so they all tried to play each other off of each other in such a way. And so France and Burgundy were not happy with each other, and so England formed some, even at certain point, alliances with them. So I'm bummed that we can't do that. Instead, I'm going to go ahead and do an alliance. I'm glad to know that I have one with Portugal. I'm going to do one with Castile, because I don't want to get overwhelmed by, great powers. That's not super historically accurate. I don't know that, England did have an alliance with Spain at a certain point, but not at this time. So we're bending history a little bit there to just make sure we don't get totally whomped on. But still bummed we can't make an alliance with Burgundy. That would have been a lot better. Let's go ahead and go through estates. It's my first time playing England. Kind of surprised to see they have only 3. The Ottomans have 6 or something like that. That was my big historical playthrough I just came off of. So we're going to go through the clergy first. I'm going to grant clerical... So I'm going to just grant the things that I consider to be historically accurate. I'm going to grant clerical advisory council for sure. That did happen. Church sanctuaries was a thing. Yeah, we'll go ahead and say that. I'm going to ignore these monopolies. I don't really recall them being directly on the church. And this religious culture I'm going to hold off on. We're going to grant it shortly, but I'm going to hold off on it until an event fires. Okay, on the nobility side, this was a significant struggle for the crown. And this English I don't know how to pronounce it, villanage. This is pretty hardcore, but I'm fine with it from a historical perspective, because it's really, the barons, especially at this time, really just ran amok. They had their own private armies and everything like that. I don't really see that in here. We can go ahead and give them primacy of the nobility. Painful, but accurate. Low crown land. Okay, fine. I really can't lose any more crown land at this point. Increased aristocratic counselors. I think we're going to go ahead and grant that as well. I'm not going to do supremacy over the crown, even though it got to that at a certain point. And even at the time of Henry VI, where we are right now, they did have a temporary supremacy over the crown. Expand the fortifications. No. If there was something else that basically talked about them having kind of private armies, because that's significant during the War of the Roses, that the War of the Roses was the war of two warring houses, the House of York and the House of Lancaster. There's an event. There's a whole event chain, I think, for that. We're going to go through that. But they basically maintained their own private armies, and the king would call them up. So I think there was something in here about conscription. But that's a little touchy. I'm not going to go into that right now. So we'll explore that in just a little bit. But right now, so they've got a lot of power, and that is historically accurate. Now, the merchants, the burghers at this point, were the opposite. They did not have a lot of power, at least not yet. Now, there is, I thought I saw something on wool. Okay, there's a monopoly on textiles, but really, there should be a monopoly on wool. I saw that under the clergy. I don't like it. England was a major wool exporter. I don't know that they were all that big in textiles. You know what? Let's go ahead and simulate that as close as we can. I don't know that it'll be a huge impact to us right now, but yeah, we will simulate that for now. Okay, so that kind of closes us out, like what our estates look like at this point. Unfortunately, we've lost a fair amount of crown land. I just even seized some crown land and then lost it. So we'll go ahead and do one of these and just see what we can get back. I'll struggle with that here for a minute. So I think we can go ahead and get started with our main objectives. We're going to go through our missions now. Okay, so let's talk about missions. Being very different from Crusader Kings 3, where there are no missions. I love missions. Because we get to decide what's historical and what's not. So, a lot of folks play alt history. That's fine. I don't at all. So anyway, we're going to stick as historically close as we possibly can. So the 100 Years' War was a focus of the final Crusader Kings video, the one I just finished, and really is sort of coming to an end. I don't believe that the 100 Years' War officially ends until 1453, so we're still in it. And we're going to have to deal with the surrender of Maine here shortly, and I will do that at the time. Now, Henry VI, we're going to leave him in place, so we're not going to get the royal court here for a little while. And then raise an army is just basically like, hey, try and, max out your forces and everything like that. Okay. So the War of the Roses is coming. That also doesn't start, I think, until like the 1450s. And so we're going to go ahead and move forward for now. So for now, what we're going to do is just basically just unpause and hope that one of these events happens in the beginning. There's a few historically accurate events that I want to get through and get those set up right away. Okay, this first segment of the game probably going to be a little bit boring. I'm not going to have much of it on video, but I am going to call out this royal marriage offer. So we're going to decline these, basically every royal marriage offer that we get, despite the fact that we don't have a consort. And that's because there is an event that, since I've done my research like a good little nerdy boy, where if we don't have a consort, we can get Margaret of Anjou, who was Henry VI's true queen. And I really, really, really want her. So anyway, we're going to ignore all royal marriage offers and hope for her. It's just an event that should fire any time now. So the surrender of Maine is upon us, and this is, in a way, one of the complex issues and sort of a beginning of an event that led to the War of the Roses, which is what this whole video is about. So let me go through this. So Maine is here, first of all, not Maine, America, right? And what happened is that a man was sent forward, a diplomat was sent forward to secure a wife for Henry VI, and specifically it was Margaret of Anjou. And we're still hoping that she shows up. She hasn't shown up yet. But what he did is made a secret deal that the entire province of Maine would be given back to France in exchange for her. And this upset a lot of people for hopefully some very obvious reasons. And a core kind of key thought surrounding that was people basically saying, you gave an entire province for a dowryless woman. She showed up with no dowry. She showed up with no money. It's like, all right, I'm here. Let's get married. Oh, and by the way, you paid an entire province for me. So they did cede Maine. However, people were so upset with that decision that many of the officers revolted, and in fact, the people at the garrisons of Maine refused to surrender it. So it was agreed upon that they would cede it, but in practicality, they didn't do it. So that leaves me with a choice: should I or should I not? Okay, I think I'm going to decide to do it. It sucks because of what just happened here, and the reason why I'm making that decision is because otherwise they would go to war with me right away, and that's fine, because what happened going forward was all these other provinces were taken by France except Calais. Okay, so what I'm going to do is try, well, what I did, it's done, all right? We have the mission successful, okay? And then basically, this allows us to choose between staying with British or trying to retake a French empire, which we're not going to do. We're going to say the continent's no longer our interest and basically move forward as Britain. Now, that's not to say that we're not going to be fighting battles on the continent. We are. Because if and when they go to war, we're going to fight, because that was historically accurate. We're going to fight and lose, because that was also historically accurate. And plus, this sets up the whole, what are they called again? The colonial deal, which is why I'm playing this. I'm not playing this for England, I'm playing this for America, right? Okay. So I'm hoping that still we get Margaret of Anjou, because we really need to delve into the War of the Roses, and also the Tudors, and all that sort of thing. So the surrender of Maine was the trigger for that. I don't think it's the trigger for that event, but we gotta keep going and hope that event shows up sooner. Hopefully sooner than later. Okay, here's another historically accurate concept, the Lollards, by John Wycliffe. We know a lot about Luther and the Reformation, but what we don't really know, or many of us don't know, and I only just recently read about it, is that John Wycliffe really was like the precursor of that. The person basically saying, like, hey, the church shouldn't be between you and God. Your relationship with God should be directly between you and He. And so this was indeed considered heresy. And so they were opposed. So we're going to do that, which is what we just did. But I'm also calling extra attention to this because what we're going to do is give the clergy another privilege at this point. Remember, I promised. And it's this one where we are going to basically lower tolerance. I think this is the one that lowers tolerance of the, let's see. Nope. Where is it at? There was something that, this is the one. Okay. Ooh, we lose more crown land. That sucks. So tolerance of heretics and heathens. We're going to do that. Okay. Again, brutal, but historically accurate. So this playthrough of England, I think, is going to be kind of rough. I can't really attack Scotland right yet for anything because they're protected by everybody and their brother. It's like, hey, you want to go to war with France over Scotland? No, not really. And Castile's like, pass. So anyway, that kind of sucks. So anyway, and we're money challenged. I don't know where I'm going to get cash from. I really don't. But we'll go into debt for a little while and just see what happens. So, history. Let's keep going. Okay, so here we are. A little thrown off by this because I thought the disaster said something about, where's it at? It was like, it's not going to start until 1455. I must have read that wrong. Henry VI has suddenly died. That's completely inaccurate. He did not die at all. In fact, he was really a puppet during the War of the Roses the entire time. He was shuttled around and people would be like, hey, we have the king, and they're parading him through the streets like, we saved the king, and then the people would be like, we captured the king, and here's this poor guy who really could barely even has any idea where he is, like looking around like, I'm the king, you know what? And so that's not accurate. Maybe just Henry VI is, the heir of you currently. So anyway, what happened as part of the Edward IV? That's wow. Wow, this is really screwed up. Okay. Anyway, what happened in the real War of the Roses is the House of York, because Henry VI is a Lancaster. You can see it right here, right? That Margaret of Anjou basically killed a lot of the House of York, and they rose up as rebels and declared, ultimately, beat with the Earl of Warwick, ultimately defeated. Well, it was back and forth for a long time. You know what? I'll tell you what. I'm just going to take this break right now and basically say, on Starz, like the Prime TV channel, there is a fantastic series that goes through all of this. I'm still going to explain a little bit more. But if you want to watch a really historically accurate and good series, watch The White Queen. So it's basically like there's a sequel, The White Princess, which is a sequel that talks about Henry Tudor, who would be Henry VII Tudor. So anyway, what happened was Margaret of Anjou, who we have not been able to get, which sucks, killed the father and brother of Edward IV of York, and Edward then, with the Earl of Warwick's help, overthrew the Lancasters and declared himself king. So maybe that's going to happen here in a minute, but this whole, like, if you're for House York, you get Richard III, that's weird. That's not really true. That's Edward IV's brother, who would become the king after Edward died. And there's Edward IV, but he's not Lancaster. So, yeah, let me just think about this for a minute. Let's fast forward it here. I'm gonna have to trust my gut on this one. Another historical inaccuracy, by the way. York gets the support of House York. Oddly enough, York was a stronghold of the Lancasters. Don't ask me why. That York, that would make sense. We're going to roll with support for House York. Okay, this -3 stability is like killing me at this point, but whatever. And I need to see what happens here, because we got to get through this, this whole disaster and figure out how to do this. So let's move forward. Okay, so that wasn't too bad, running around, killing a bunch of rebels and stuff like that, which was pretty much what the War of the Roses was. Anyway, very complicated story. Again, worth watching that series. And a huge shout out to the author of those books, too. I'm really amazed when people can write books and which become TV series, which are historically accurate, enjoyable, and like good, So let's look that up real quick. Who is that? Who's that author? Okay, Philippa Gregory. So hats off to you, my friend. That was I didn't read the books, but the show was really great, and so many details in the show, which I assume really just come right out of the books, which come right out of history books. And it's fun, when people can make history enjoyable, then that's pretty cool. Okay, so War of the Roses is officially over. which is fine and good. Now, the War of the Roses really didn't end until, I think, the 1450s. And interestingly enough, the War of the Roses was not won by either, ultimately, by either Lancaster or York. Technically, York really had the longest run of victory. But the War of the Roses ended with Henry Tudor. So really the first Tudor king, who was Henry VII, yes, the father of Henry VIII, when Henry Tudor basically usurped the throne and took the throne by force. That's what brought an end to the War of the Roses. So I'm going to scour through the events as much as I can and see if we can bring Henry Tudor to life here. That would be kind of cool. Right now, okay, Richard of York. So Edward IV was Richard, they were brothers, was Richard's brother. And Edward IV was king, and he died of not so much natural causes, but like, I think sickness or something like that. And his brother, Richard, ultimately, he said, well, I'm going to be Lord Protector, which meant he was going to take care of Edward's sons, his brother's sons, until they could grow up. And it was like, oh, look, well, I want to protect them from anybody that might harm them, so let's put them in the Tower of London. And so he, quote-unquote, protected them into the tower. And just one day, you know, couldn't find them anymore. Those poor boys, they must have just run off somewhere. I might as well be king. And so that's really what happened. So we did end up with Richard III as king. That is historically accurate. He was defeated by Henry Tudor. So let's roll through our missions here and see what we've got. Royal Court. Okay, I'll get back to that in a second. But War of the Roses, I'm kind of curious, because again, that's what this whole video is about, right? Are people safely complete? Okay, so we are completed. Stability, House United, yada, 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 yada. Okay. Okay, well, there you go. So, let's keep playing, and let's hope for Henry Tudor. And we've done the 100 Years' War. French conflict. Okay, I got to look through all this stuff, and we'll search for. You know what? Might as well do this one while you're watching. Right? Okay, unlock the point. Blah blah blah. Control. Okay, that's good. Good to know. All right, so the War of the Roses is officially over. We are going to keep going through this video until it would be nice to get to the Henry VIII time frame. Again, the time is way too early. The War of the Roses lasted for years and years and years. It was not over that quickly. So we're going to need to burn through a fair amount of time to get caught up with the true historical time frame. Well, 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 speak of the young man himself. Even now there are whispers of potential usurpers, including the return from exile of the ambitious Henry Tudor, which is exactly what happened. So we can get him, Henry Tudor, as the heir. Okay, that's fine. Super historically accurate. And let's see, Mary Turberville, not historically accurate. But here is Henry Tudor, and that's fine. He's my son that I had when I was 8. Just kidding. So, it's kind of a bummer that Henry has kind of not as good of skills as Richard III does. That's not terribly accurate. Richard wasn't the greatest king at all. Okay, Lollards. Alright. So, that's fine. And again, this is not Crusader Kings. It's hard to remember that sometimes. You know, we're going to be talking about more of our actions as a nation and less of our actions, you know, as people. It's just kind of fun to see these people, you know, be here, historically accurate. Okay, so because Henry Tudor is here, does that really mean the War of the Roses is over? Well, in the game it is. Okay, so what we're going to do, like I said earlier, is let's put some time behind us and see if we come across any historically other significant events. Otherwise, we're going to try and do whatever needs to be done. We are going to fight France again in this video and lose. because that is historically accurate. I'm sorry I keep saying that. It's my motto. I need to print a T-shirt that says super historically accurate on the front and non-historically accurate on the back. I think I'm going to do that one of these days. All right, let's keep going. All right, 5 more years on the clock. We're in 1454. A couple of challenges, really kind of what to do next. I'm going to try to close this video out, hopefully with the reign of Henry VIII, and talk about some of his stuff. So, a couple things. Ireland is just sitting here, ripe for the picking. Not really historically accurate, but I realize if I don't do something militarily, not only am I going to be left behind as a great power, but I'm probably just going to be bored. And so what I'm thinking about doing is conquering Ireland, even though that did not happen, and raising their autonomy to fairly high levels. So that could be historically accurate. So this guy gave me some diplomatic insult, Leinster, and I went to war with him and made him a vassal. The others I may just conquer, but have their autonomy high, just because I don't want to have a gazillion vassals, because that would kill me diplomatic-wise. So, again, that's not really historically accurate, but Ireland was not easily tamed. And so the closest I think I can get to that, again, without just letting them sit here doing absolutely nothing, is raising their autonomy. So we're going to do that. The other thing is England focused a lot, especially under Henry VII, even though we're not in that time period or reign yet. Okay, England began to focus a lot on trade with the Netherlands. So I'd love to have some sort of alliance with the Netherlands, but apparently they're a junior partner to Burgundy, which I don't think was really super historically accurate. So what I'm going to do is try to make alliance with Austria, which might seem like, huh? How's that even related? And that is just because, so this looks like it's going to happen. We'll go ahead and just send that there. Too many diplomat. Oh, okay. Oops. That's going to come up soon, where France becomes a huge power, barely contained by the alliance of England, Spain, and the Empire, the Holy Roman Empire. I am already aligned with Spain, even though they're not Spain yet. So I figured I'd just preemptively strike out on that alliance with Austria. Plus, maybe I can help them in this war and back them off of Burgundy expanding up into the Empire, which really did not happen to my knowledge. So anyway, a bit more there. Going to do a bit more fast forwarding and fighting. All that's going to be off camera. But that's why we're doing some of the things that we're doing. So I'll bring you back when there's more to talk about. Okay, 1460, we're going to unlock our first idea group. And as a reminder, obviously I'm trying to play through England as historically accurately as I can. However, our goal is to get to America. So I'm not going to focus a lot on military right up front, because even though the exploration and colonization occurred at specific times, I'm pretty sure that the way that the AI plays in this game, I'm going to be racing them to it. And so it's more important to me to get to America rather than have to fight someone for it. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. So rather than do exploration right away, we've got enough time, historically speaking, I hope, to do something else. I'm going to do it economically, and that is trade ideas. Because I think I mentioned, and if I didn't mention it already, like England was focused a lot on the continental trade, and it wasn't until John Cabot's exploration under Henry VII, who encouraged it, paid for it, did the concept of America even come into being. And that expedition ultimately kind of failed, but they did discover Newfoundland. and then later on colonized the American seaboard. So we're going to hope that we have enough time to flesh out some trade ideas before our next idea group, which will be exploration ideas. Now, speaking of historically inaccurate, France has not made a move on any of the other territories here. So, from a mission perspective, I actually quote-unquote ended the French conflict by choosing the option of, you can see it there at the bottom, if you can squint your eyes and read real good, Cotentin and Co are owned by England or its subjects and have a marketplace, trade depot, or stock exchange. So basically, I'm not gonna force them to take this stuff back. I'm not gonna hold on to it or fight them for it. If they take it back, they take it back. But anyway, so I'm gonna be trading and go ahead and build trade infrastructure in Bordeaux and stuff like that, which is kind of silly. But, until that changes otherwise, that's what we're going to do. So, again, they can have it, but I'm not going to surrender it to them voluntarily. They have to take it from my cold, dead fingers. Alright, a little note just because I learned about this today. In addition to playing these games and reading through history books, I listen to audiobooks. And I've been listening to Thomas Sowell's Basic Economics 101, or what is it? I think it's just called Basic Economics. A huge, long book. I've been listening to it for practically a year. And just learned about this today. And that is mercantilism. So in this time, the big idea was that you were economically strong if your nation produced and exported more than it imported. So this was a huge popular economic idea. So we're going to kind of, and mercantilism, you can boost it with monarch points and all this kind of stuff. So just kind of doing it here with Parliament. And so it wasn't really until 1776 when Adam Smith wrote The Wealth of Nations, where he added the new concept, or new in terms of that, it would become widely embraced, that wealth was not about government power or nation's power, but rather the wealth of its people and the prosperity of its people. And so Adam Smith kind of did away with the concept of, we've got to export more than we import. But for now, and to be historically accurate, we are going to move forward with mercantilism, especially because England is a big trading nation, and I've been playing them as such. So anyway, I'm not gonna, watch me monkey through all the Parliament stuff here, but I just figured I'd bring a little economics to the discussion, and so we're gonna be mercantilists really until America, 1776. That's what we're playing for, but it's not gonna happen this video. It's a long ways away. Okay, having just opened our second idea group, we are going for exploration. Again, this is England to America, and we cannot do it because we already picked another idea group. That is so not cool. Okay, I guess we can do expansion. Yeah, because we're going to do colonies and stuff like that. So, really need that quest for the New World. At most, 50% of your current idea groups. Okay, well, there it is. Let's go ahead for expansion. Bummer. Just means, we're going to have to wait to get there. That's okay, historically speaking, because, again, England didn't even have an expedition to find, to head west until 1504, and so we're, like 25 years away from that. So I'm bummed, but let's keep going. Okay, we're going to start wrapping this video up. We just completed a quest, Mainland Alliances, which is pretty historically accurate, actually. What was going on at this point is that France was getting kind of hemmed in. England and Spain, again here it's just Castile because they haven't completed the Aragon Union yet. England and Spain weren't really terribly allied. I mean, they were, especially when King Henry VIII married Catherine of Aragon, which has not yet happened, and Henry VIII isn't even around yet. But England was also really working together with the Empire. It's really impossible to see, because it looks like all this patchwork of blah, 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 all these countries and everything. But, you know, if you put this up, you can kind of see, okay, the Empire is, you know, ooh, it's big, right? So really it was like England, the Empire, Spain, against France. So France was, they were really kind of hemmed in. And that's going to be especially big probably in the next video. So anyway, we're going to get this kind of wrapped up soon. What I'm going to try to shoot for as the end of this video is the arrival of King Henry VIII, and I think we can pull that off. And then we're going to do all next video of hopefully, the discovery of the New World, Queen Elizabeth, and go from there. So we just completed that mission with our allies on the continent. I don't think I'm going to do this influence in the lowlands. Well, this actually, I mean, the description of it is pretty true. So we'll see. Maybe I'll do that. So we're going to keep working our European allies and trying to hem France in. They still haven't decided to try and take this back, and they probably won't at this point, given that I'm allied with Spain and the Empire. So whatever. Like I said earlier, I'm not going to give it up voluntarily, even though historically I should not have it. So let's get this wrapped up soon and see if we can bring Henry VIII to bear. As we move ever forward to the end of this video, and also to the American colonies, of course, we should highlight the birth of colonialism. This changes everything. That is correct, because England is going to be, hopefully soon, heading west. Heading west, young man, to explore the Atlantic and find America and set up our colonies there. So we need to see where colonialism first started. Porto. Where is that? Can use our handy little find feature. Where are you? Yes, I'm geographically challenged. There it is. Alright, Portugal. So let's hope that the institution spreads to us, and so we can build our colonies. 13 of them, to be precise. Alright, this is very interesting. We just completed Found the Royal Navy, and England gets Exploration Spirit for 25 years, giving the following effect: allows recruitment of explorers and conquistadors. That is freaking awesome. So, I think we can do this, right? Let's give it a shot. I was thinking we'd have to go ahead and wait for the quest. We theoretically don't. Alright, let's go ahead. Who is this? Is this an explorer? This is an explorer. That is awesome. So can we do some straight exploring at this point? You must first be in port. I can do that. Okay. And we can explore. Ooh, this is exactly what we want to do. Exactly what we want to do. Alright, we are going to head to the North Atlantic coast. Go, homie. Go. Good, I'm excited. So officially John Cabot made his exploratory voyage in 1504, so we're a little bit ahead of time, which I don't have any problems with that at all. And just got a government reform, military doctrine, so we are, of course, going to choose Navy professionalism as England, because they were renowned throughout the world for their professional and strong Navy. So, moving on. Alright, and speaking of which, here he is. Henry Tudor, Henry VIII. Now, I'm a little bit thrown off because we've got Henry now, age 14. I thought that was Henry VII, even though this guy is saying clergy regency for Henry VIII, so that's kind of weird. But the thing is, this guy's 232, and real Henry VIII is 555. So we will go ahead and take him, even though now we knocked the heir down to age 0. Ooh, and we get Catherine of Aragon. All right. Let's take a look at this. So these event details are kind of wonky. Catherine of Aragon was promised in marriage to King Henry VIII's eldest brother, Arthur. They were married, and she died. So here it just says she marries, or not she dies, he died, excuse me. Here she married Henry VIII. Well, that's really true, but it's missing like one of the largest stories in all of English history, where she married Arthur. They lived together for 7 months. Arthur died, and then Henry married her. But there was this big rule that you're not supposed to marry your brother's wife if they'd consummated the marriage. But Catherine insisted that they never consummated the marriage, and so Henry married her, and we'll talk about it a little bit more next video, what happened there. So it's probably fitting that she can't marry a baby, even though Catherine was promised to Arthur at a very young age. And I don't know that I really want to banish her for prestige, but at the same time, I don't really see this like working out all that well, and I've got my good trader and diplomacy, so I'm going to choose this banisher option, even though it's not historically accurate. Pretty much none of that was historically accurate, that event text. Not the text, but the choices. Okay, so with this in place, I would say let's go ahead and wrap it up. Okay, but notice that we've begun our exploration. I'm probably going to have to make some tough choices here. The very first English colony was here, Chesapeake, Jamestown. And it was founded, I think, in like 1606 or something like that. It's now 1506, 100 years later. Here's the problem. I have played this game before. This whole thing will belong to somebody like Spain or Denmark or something like that if I don't swoop in there and do it. So I'm going to set a save point, which I've already done, and basically say, like, should I? And then I'm going to wait until 1606 to try and come in and take this area. If it's completely occupied, I'm just going to tell you on the video, reload it, and go back. Another thing that's difficult is the colonial range here is just way too far away. So I could go in and sit on Newfoundland. Let's see how close I can get. Okay, so this is the closest I could get right there. That's not too bad. Okay. Cabot in 1504 theoretically set up a not a colony, but rather just like a site. He discovered Newfoundland, but it failed. And so I'm going to be breaking historical accuracy in two ways. One, because, again, somebody's probably going to sit on it before I get here. And the other is, you can't really get there from England with colonial mechanics unless you wait like forever to increase your colonial distance. And I don't even know when that will be. What am I doing here? Okay, there we go. So we'll get a next bump by level 11. Okay, that's certainly going to come by 1606. And another 30 bump. How much do we even need to sit here first? Right. It's probably going to be Powhatan here. Okay, we need 429. So I'm going to need 104 more, which means I'd have to sit on this for colonial range. Am I getting the right one? Yeah. Until level 15. That's not making me feel comfortable at all. So we're probably going to cheat and do the colonies earlier. Anyway, on that notice, I'm going to thank everyone for watching. We did a bunch of boring stuff on England. I know this is the England to America series, so I'm really focused on America at this point. I'd like to thank everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time when we go ahead and colonize the New World. Bye-bye.